Good afternoon and welcome back. I'm Marcus Peter. I'm talking with my dear friend Dr. Matthew Bunson, Vice President and Editorial Director of EWTN News. He joins us every week to talk about church news and current events in light of church teaching. Matthew, Pope Leo XIV is meeting with Marco Rubio. I'd really like to hear some of your thoughts on the matter.
Yeah, I think that one of the dimensions of this is that Pope Leo has had a disagreement with the United States on the importance of multilateral approaches to solving problems. And Marco Rubio represents an administration that really has not particularly embraced the concept of a multilateral approach to problem solving. So I think that's one area where there has been disagreement. But a meeting like the one that Marco Rubio had with the Holy Father today can go, I think, some distance in reestablishing. I used that phrase a little earlier about it's a kind of a reset where you can move past certain challenges. Now, obviously, the big question in this, as it always is where President Trump will fall on these discussions. Hopefully, he will move on from the question of Pope Leo, and there can be that kind of return to agreement. There are always going to be disagreements, and I think this is one of those other big points that has to be made. Every pope is going to have a disagreement with some administration.
And in dealing with these administrative issues, it becomes very clear that they just have to navigate these waters. If you don't mind me switching gears a little into talking about Pope Leo and the situation with his bank.
Yes, well, this is one of my favorite stories of the last few days. That Pope Leo was actually in touch with his bank and was trying to change his address and a few other things, and apparently failed to convince them that he was actually Pope Leo. He provided them when asked on the call, and there are witnesses to this call. He had to provide his name and answer the various security questions and Social Security. But it seemed not to have been sufficient for the person on the other end of the phone. And when he said, well, would it help? He said that I'm Pope Leo XIV, and this person hung up on him. So you have someone out there who actually just hung up on the Pope. So I don't know who that person is, but God bless him. But, and this is also a classic solution, a priest who was aware of the situation happened to know the head of the bank. So in traditional classic Chicago style, he knew a guy and was able to fix the problem. So these are the types of things that happen when you are elected Pope.
How would you like to be that guy?
Well, it's I'm sure all you can do is laugh, and the Holy Father, I'm sure, thought it was kind of a funny moment. It reminds me in some ways of Pope Francis when he showed up rather unexpectedly at his hotel after the conclave and wanted to make sure that his hotel bill had been paid. So
That's right.
These are the types of things that newly elected popes have to deal with, and I can imagine that Pope Leo, given his sense of humor, found it pretty funny.
Well, I'm rather glad for that. Uh, he's got a visit coming up to Spain.
He does. So he has in June a pretty significant journey to Spain. Why? Because he's going to be there in June. Obviously, it's hot, but he's going to Madrid and then also to Barcelona, where he will quite memorably, I think, visit the Sagrada Familia, the magnificent church designed by Antoni Gaudi. And then he'll also be going to Tenerife and Las Palmas in the Canary Islands. It's notable also because Pope Francis, as I recall, did not really visit Spain. And so he will be making a trip to a country that has two great needs. The first is recapturing its understanding of itself in the sense of its traditional Catholic history. And it comes also then at a time of intense secularization. We can forget the terrible period of the Spanish Civil War,
Mhm.
but in the recent decades, there has been a march towards secularism that has emerged into genuinely hostile intent toward Christianity in general, Catholicism in particular. And then, just a few months after that, he's going to be traveling apparently to France. So, another country that Pope Francis did not visit in an official capacity. He went and visited several French cities, but those are very targeted moments. So, Pope Leo will be visiting Paris, and then he'll be going to Lourdes. And this comes also at a time of secularization, of intense hostility also toward Christianity, but at the same time, both in Spain and in France, an intense, slow revival of faith, especially among young people. So this is going to be a very targeted and very strategic set of trips.
And I'm really glad he is doing it, like you said, amidst the secularization of Spain and how much increasingly secular it's become since the last time Pope Benedict XVI was there. Once again, switching gears, let's talk about what's going on with the German church, the German bishops. We have a letter, the 2024 letter, that prohibits formal blessings for homosexual couples in Germany.
Yeah, that's right. So the Germans have been proceeding at pace with the way I describe it is their efforts to democratize the church and to basically recast the church in their own image. This is the synodal way's intent. It wants to bring massive changes to authority in the life of the church, to the role of women, including the ordination of women to the diaconate, and one very clear to the priesthood, questions of priestly identity, an end to priestly celibacy, and wholesale changes to the church's teachings on sexuality. One of those flashpoints has been the implementation and understanding of fiducia supplicans, which opened the door, of course, to aversion to simple blessings for same-sex couples. They want and have, in fact, decreed that there will be formalized blessings of same-sex couples. That was especially the case on the part of a number of German bishops, including Archbishop of Munich, Cardinal Reinhard Marx. So that is, as I said, a flashpoint. And one of the problems that has to be dealt with by Pope Leo, as we have been talking. So there is a letter that was issued in 2024 that was circulated from the Dicastery of the Doctrine of the Faith prohibiting this practice. And Pope Leo referenced this letter on his flight back to Rome from his recent trip to Africa, and said that the Holy See does not agree with the German bishops beyond that which is allowed in fiducia supplicans. And from that standpoint, this could open the door to further actions on the part of the Holy Fathers we've been talking.
And the further actions would include the potential of canonical sanctions, which is no small deal.
That's right. Now, as Cardinal Pietro Parolin said just a few days ago or yesterday, it would be, as he puts it, premature to discuss sanctions against the German bishops. It's obviously there as an option, but it's certainly the hope of the Holy See, Pope Leo especially, that this can be avoided. As he put it, it's premature to speak of sanctions, but he said, let's hope we never have to get to them and that the problems can be resolved peacefully. Now, as an interesting small side note, Pope Leo met with Cardinal Marx, I believe, just today, but it was not under the auspices of his role as the Archbishop of Munich and Freising. It was because he still holds the position of president of the Council for the Economy, which he's held now for quite a number of years. But this is certainly, I'm sure, an occasion for the two of them, Cardinal Marx and Pope Leo, to meet and to have some sort of a conversation.
Just so our listeners are aware, there are certain dioceses in Germany that have already created a a kind of structured ritualization and formalized blessing for same-sex couples in their dioceses in Germany.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And the situation in many ways isn't helped by what was the Synod Synodality's study group final report that was issued just a few days ago that gave a lot of testimony from, for example, two men in civil marriages with other men who were trying to express their personal experience and the so-called tensions and wounds that they said have marked their life, as they call it, of faith within the church. So obviously, this document itself has caused quite a bit of controversy. Let's be clear about what the church teaches in this, and you can read it readily in the Catechism of the Catholic Church in terms of the church's teachings. But there's a very clear effort on the part of some, and we can count members I know of the German Synodal Way who want to bring pretty massive changes to the teachings of the church when it comes to things like homosexual acts, homosexuality, marriage, and our understanding of Christian or Catholic anthropology.
The great issue we're facing too is if they press forward, the push will be a redefinition of these things. So we're down to the last few seconds of this segment. Matthew, thank you so very much for your time, for your generosity. Always appreciate being able to connect with you.
A privilege to be with you, as always. God bless.
God bless you. My guest has been Dr. Matthew Bunson, Vice President and Editorial Director of EWTN News. He's joined us to talk about church news, current events in light of church teaching. We've been specifically speaking about Pope Leo XIV, largely because we have hit the 1-year mark of his election into the papacy and all of the good work that God has done in and through his witness as Pope. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm Marcus Peter.